Hi folks, Greg here, and welcome to my horror party. As you may have noticed, it's been a while since our last episode, but now we're back, and we're ready to get this party started. If you're new to this series, I'll catch you up. The ideal horror party movie is one that doesn't take itself seriously, unless, of course, the humor isn't what the filmmakers intended, but this film definitely fits the former category. The whole idea is to challenge yourself and your friends to a game of intestinal endurance, for the sake of cinema, of course. Speaking of endurance, in today's episode, we're ready to get down with Ash Williams, one of horror cinema's most beloved heroes, and arguably humanity's leading authority on the demonic creatures nicknamed Deadites. Not only is this movie a turbocharged, steroid-infused version of Sam Raimi's first feature, it also elevated the one and only Bruce Campbell to genre superstardom. Of course, we're talking about Raimi's 1987 follow-up and semi-sequel, Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. Why it's a party? Well, isn't it obvious? I mean, Evil Dead 2 has been a party favorite among horror fans ever since Bruce got blown out that cabin door 35 years ago, and it's still flying.
And I said to you, I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 yet. What would you think?
I'd think that you're a cinematic idiot, and I'd feel sorry for you.
All right.
I'm a huge fan of the entire franchise, but for sheer entertainment value alone, this installment is the hands-down winner, pun intended.
Here's your new home.
Seriously, there's hardly a moment in this film when audiences aren't screaming, jumping, laughing, shouting out their favorite lines, or just trying to catch their breath.
I gotta get a grip on myself here.
Before we get to the rules of the game, I'll give you a quick overview of the movie, and since time is money, I'll do that in exactly 2 minutes. That's no big deal, because there's not that much about this movie you don't already know. If you want a real masterclass on Evil Dead 2, be sure to check out our Deconstructing episode. It's loaded with goodies that even some Evil Dead superfans might have overlooked. But anyhow, let's get down to details, beginning now. To drop the deets on Evil Dead 2, we have to back up about 8 years or so to the original Evil Dead, which was about as indie as a movie could get. Raimi and Campbell hustled the initial funding themselves by soliciting dozens of potential investors, including their friends and families. The finished film didn't get too much attention until it screened at the Cannes Film Festival, where it received a glowing recommendation from Stephen King and became a cult sensation in Europe. That eventually led New Line Cinema to buy the North American rights, and later the home video release became one of the hottest horror titles of the 80s. Publicist Irwin Shapiro encouraged Raimi, Campbell, and production partner Rob Tapert to pitch the sequel to famous movie mogul Dino De Laurentiis, who forked over $3.5 million, which is about 10 times more than the first film's starting budget. The original concept was set entirely in the Middle Ages, but Dino wanted something closer in theme to the first Evil Dead, so they saved that plot for the next chapter, Army of Darkness. The prologue to the sequel was originally meant to include footage from the first film, which would have saved money, but Raimi and company were surprised to learn they didn't own the rights anymore. Instead, they recapped the story with new scenes, now featuring only Ash and his girlfriend Linda, and at Dino's insistence, they added new characters for Ash to interact with and up the body count. Co-writer Scott Spiegel scaled down the concept to save money, setting the majority of the story in the cabin. Principal photography on Evil Dead 2 began in North Carolina, where the crew turned a high school gym into a soundstage. Exteriors of the cabin were mostly shot at a small farmhouse where Steven Spielberg had previously filmed The Color Purple. Raimi and Spiegel added physical comedy to the script in an attempt to soften the impact of all the gory set pieces and make it into more of a splat-stick comedy to dodge an X rating. But the ratings board was still pretty uptight back then, and Evil Dead 2 was released unrated, which hurt its performance at the box office, but as with the previous Evil Dead, it was home video that turned the film into the cult classic we all know and love today. You got all that? Good. Now, before we get to the ground rules,
There are certain rules.
I'll catch you up on the basics. If you've ever played a drinking game at a party, you know where I'm going with this. Even if you're not into beer, wine, cocktails, or straight hard liquor, there are still plenty of options to choose from.
What do you say we have some champagne, eh, baby? Huh?
Including cannabis, caffeine, and even shots of hot sauce. All of this should be tempered by your local laws and, of course, your own chemical and digestive tolerance. This is supposed to be fun, not dangerous. The key is to find a substance that you can consume in small doses whenever the rules call for it. It's up to you to determine what that substance will be, but please try not to poison your friends because that can get complicated and really messy. I usually try to pick something thematically appropriate to the movie, and thanks to our resident mixologist, Mike Conway, we have just the thing. A blood red variant on a classic cocktail, which we like to call the Necronomicon Negroni.
Thanks, Greg. All right, today I'll be making for you the classic Negroni, but this one has a little twist that I heard from an old recording, and I'll play you that recording while I make the drink. Enjoy.
In my findings, I feel that you should start with 1.5 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of Rosso vermouth, 1 ounce Campari, and 1 ounce of Bada Bing cherry juice. Give it a good stir, then strain over a rocks glass. Finish off your drink with a nice, fresh orange twist and a cherry.
Groovy. Now, drink responsibly. We don't want you to be
dead by dawn. Dead by dawn. Dead by dawn.
There you have it, a Kandarian cocktail that even the pickiest demon slayer can toss back before going into battle. Now that we've made our dosing selection, it's time for the rules of the game. We like to play fast and easy with the Horror Party playbook, and you can make your own modifications too, but here's some basic options to start with. Whenever you hear the word Kanda, either on the tape recorder or from a character, take 1 dose. When you hear Ash say this,
Workshed.
take 1 dose. Every time Ash gets possessed, take a dose. When this happens, take 1 dose. When you hear this line,
Who's laughing now?
take a dose. When this happens, take 1 dose. Last but definitely not least, get ready to take 2 doses when you hear this immortal line.
Groovy.
That's probably more than enough. I don't want to be responsible for what happens to you when you try to get off the couch. Got my beverage, got the Blu-ray queued up, and ready to roll. I'll see you on the flip side with some aftercare and my final thoughts. But for now, lights down, bottoms up, roll film.
I don't think so.
No, seriously, are you okay out there? Just checking. I hope you had big fun, preferably without any unpleasant side effects. Anyhow, I'm glad you made it. If you had a little too much of our Negroni or any other eldritch potion you've been dosing with, don't get behind the wheel. Book a ride share, stake out a couch, whatever. While you're recovering, we'll be brewing up another episode, so why not get down in the comments and give us some suggestions? If we use your party ideas, we'll give you a shout out on the show. So, until next time.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow this.